Robert Samaroff, sex trafficker, had a habit of naming his favorite girls after flowers.
After flowers. Children who survived early trauma like yours and weren't crushed by it could be forged into killer soldiers. Weapons that could be turned on and off.
Like a switch.
Child appears to fit in with others but displays little affection. Possible attachment disorder.
Supposed to be a perfect killer. Controllable. One who followed orders. A good soldier. We were both failed experiments. Charles and I.
Ever wonder what it would be like to wake up 6 years later inside a box filled with water with no memory of what happened to you? Well, in the series Absentia, that's exactly what happens. Except they also weave into this story all of the symbols we've already discovered pertaining to the trafficking of little people. And it isn't until late in the season that they reveal that Emily's underground torture began in childhood. While she was in a state of care at an orphanage that ran secret government experiments underground on children. Does it sound familiar?
Shit started experimenting on kids after he left MIT. They were being tortured the same way that I was.
One of them was a boy. His name was Charles. He was at my orphanage, and the other one
Was subject B.
How many more times must we see this scenario play out before we start believing what we're looking at? You see, the method of deflection here is the fictionalization of the truth. And it's very effective because it tricks the mind into not believing that what you're seeing is real. So here's the pizza scene, mixed in with the veggies, in this case cornflakes. The cell phone she hides in the pizza corn represents the method of mind control, which is 5G. Pizza and veggies mean children, if you hadn't already figured that out. Well documented on this channel. And this is exactly how the series plays out, as Emily discovers that this mystery goes all the way back to her own childhood abuse.
He was rumored to be involved in government research programs. Secret programs.
So, Emily is an FBI agent. And after she's found after 6 years of being missing, the series centers around her trying to clear her name, after a series of murders ensues surrounding her disappearance.
Okay, I'm about 200 meters north of the cabin. There's an open tunnel. Let me view my scarf as a sight.
An outside, unrevealed source stands in her way, carefully framing her at every step of the way. Emily basically becomes a targeted individual, on the run from both the state and the killer. The only memory she has is of a birch tree with markings that resemble a bleeding eye. Now, we linked the tree and eye anatomy together on past videos, showing you how they connected and do connect heaven to earth. And those were the original umbilical cords. And the trees were cut down after the fall of man that once reached the heavens. So the bleeding eye is also obviously a reference to when Christ sweated blood. He is our narrow gate, our tree trunk, back to heaven. Through the rebirth, through him, first comes the water, or baptism, then the blood, the sacrifice of Christ. Every 28 days, and that represents the 28 generations from David to Christ's sacrifice. The cycle plays out. Birth. Rebirth in Christ means everlasting life. so that you don't have to be born in this world through the cycle, the monthly cycle. You see how all this works? It's all confirmations of what exactly Christ had to do. Now, all this eerily resembles your inner eye anatomy, which resembles childbirth as well. We talked about this, Russian dolls of reality. Shells within shells, showing us the truth, the deeper truths about our reality. Now, the victims of all the murders have their eyelids removed as part of the torture, which is another biblical retelling of their eyes being opened permanently, obviously, after the fall. When Eve fell, her eyes were open. So now you see the truth. Dark retellings of water, baptism, trauma, Christ, mixed in with little people abduction and torture. Rebirth into darkness instead of rebirth into the light. And all this was right under our noses, hiding in plain sight. This isn't the only film in which we've uncovered these patterns and these retellings, these biblical retellings. So you ask, how are scenarios like Dallas possible? Well, something weird happens when you hold on to this life so tightly. You will do anything to protect your loved ones. All it takes is a threat. Sprinkle in some mind control experiments, and voila, you have a super soldier.
Fear is breaking you down, taking everything away from you, recreating you, and setting you free to watch your life crumble around you. But you can't save him. Kill Alice.
And this is how they do it. Now, you would never know all of this unless someone stumbled across a decode video like this. And people wonder and ask how Pizzagate ever came about and why so many believed it. It's because of films like this that link the abduction and harm of little people with pizza and underground subterranean prisons. Dozens of films going back decades before the Pizzagate phenomenon. They all seem to match the exact scenarios revealed in the WikiLeaks and the research done by so many people. Underground places that store children, black dangling wires or cords to tie them up, drugged into helplessness, monarch programming, being monitored by CCTV in a water-based, tiled environment like a bathhouse, bathroom, or swimming pool. The same scenario, repeated over and over and over again. So when we see these exact same scenarios in a Washington, D.C. man's artwork in real life, we tend to have questions. So who really are the sick ones? The ones depicting this in their fiction consistently over the decades? Or those of us who see the patterns and try to raise the alarm? Take care and be safe, you guys.